Hey YouTube, I'm Chris. Got a rather large project I'll be working on today. I'm going to be seeing if we can swap out the motherboard that was designed for Windows 7 64-bit and swap it out for a brand new one, and just merely swapping out the drivers for the new board and see if it will still boot all up. And I'll be doing my best to run this all through step by step so you can see all of the process and all of that I'll be going through. And the reason why I need to be swapping out the motherboard is because it started way back in December 24th of 2017. I went on ahead and I put together, edited and uploaded this music video that you're seeing now. I spent all night, or a good part of the night, working all on it, and probably spent a good portion of the night or longer getting it all updated, or uploaded I should say, to my channel. And after that was all done, the computer is still running fine, the video played fine, the computer was doing its thing like no problem, and went on ahead and I shut it off like normal. And then it got to be on New Year's Eve 2017, got to be kind of late in the evening, and went on ahead to try to turn on my computer, and didn't hear a beep, no post. It was trying to come on. It seemed like half of it was kind of powering up and struggling, and was kind of having a bit of a hard time trying to figure out what was happening. I shut it off, tried to reboot it again a couple more times. There was still no post, no beep, and it seemed like half of it was trying to come on, the other half of it wasn't. So I finally just turned it off, and I went on ahead and I pulled out, this is the original motherboard, and this is the original Crosshair from Republic of Gamers. This is the original Crosshair 1. I bought this motherboard back in 2008, and you can see the little thing there, Crosshair. And I bought this in 2008, spring of 2008, March or April. And I bought it, and I upgraded this motherboard as far as it would go. And I have, you can see here, it's got the DDR2 RAM, and of course you really can't see the sticker at the moment. It's got the DDR2 RAM. It runs at 800 megahertz on RAM, and I had the RAM upgraded as high as it would go. And so I had this. This runs. You can see that. This is probably see quicker than 4 gigabit of RAM. So this is a DDR2 4 gigabit of RAM. I got two of them in here, so I had it maxed out to 8 gigabits. It was the most this board would handle at 800 megahertz at top end. And then for the power for the processor, I had AMD. It was a quad core Athlon. It was an AM3 Plus socket CPU. I had the CPU overclocked up to the maximum the memory would run, and that was right at 2.5 gigahertz. And so I had it set up that way for years and years and years, and had the top end video cards plugged all into it, audio card. And so I had this thing all maxed all out and overclocked on up as far as it would go, and it lasted me since 2008, all the way up until New Year's Eve on 2017, and that's quite a good long while. So I turned the computer off, pulled the board out, and one of the first things I noticed was that you can kind of sort of see it, this capacitor got bulged out pretty good on the top there. And then there was another one, which, by the way, this capacitor here, the one that got bulged out, it's it sits right underneath where the video card was. The video card takes up 2 slots, and so a lot of the heat kind of, you know, blows on here, waves across that capacitor and balloons it up. And then I had another video card here in this slot, and it also ballooned out this capacitor. And I thought there was another one in here I saw, but I know it was those 2 for sure. And so it was at least those 2, and I started looking around to see what caused these capacitors to balloon out, and I figured it was just the heat. And I thought, that's okay, I can probably just replace these, that's no big deal. I could probably replace out a lot of these capacitors that are on here. And so I started to look into that, but as I started to look up a little bit further up on the board, you'll see that there is a, you can see that real good. That's a half melted off voltage regulator, and since it's half melted off, half chewed off, you know, you can just kind of make out the numbers, and I can't make out what those numbers are, and I figured I'd probably have no way to get that replaced without knowing what it is exactly. You know, it's half melted away, and so I thought, well, it's kind of a lost cause at this point. There's just really no way I can replace that without knowing what it is exactly. Got no schematics or anything like that. So and it's hard to know with that voltage regulator half melted away as to what else it may have damaged. But the last I knew was the CPU was working, the RAM was working. I'm guessing they still are fine. So like I said, this motherboard is the original Crosshair. I almost don't want to part with it, because it's been from 2008. It's like the first they came out with, and you can see it, you know, for 2008, you know, it had a lot of all the new latest stuff, all that was on there, and even had the latest BIOS on it, and so it was a really nice board. I even changed out the battery at one point. So much as I like to keep it, I'll end up just recycling it. I don't know if I'll have a use for the RAM or the CPU for another project for something else. I really don't know. So at this point I probably don't. So we're going to go ahead and swap the motherboard out. And like I said, it ran Windows 7 64-bit. And so I went ahead and I bought this Crosshair Hero motherboard. And so I was going to buy the Extreme motherboard, but it was just going to be way too much money. It's always going to be well over the money I want to pay for, so I just got this instead, and this will be probably about the same thing. And you know, which by the way, with the Extreme motherboard series, it tends to run into some issues with that. So this will run pretty much anything I need, and all this computer does is just music production, music remixes, video stuff, just pretty much a media computer. I could play some games on it, and I have some games, or a few games or so I played with this machine, and but usually it's really just designed for music and music production, video stuff for YouTube. And so that the one music video I showed you earlier, that was the last music media project I ran with this computer before the motherboard died on it. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and open this motherboard up for the very first time and see what we got to work with in here. And that's kind of cool. That all opens all up in one thing unless something's caught. I don't know. Well, anyway, that's kind of cool. So, take that off. So you got all of this nice gray glory here, and a lot of it's going to light all up. I'm going to have a lot of it lit up as much as I'm able to. So you got all of that. Plus you got the fancy coaster, and then we have the drivers with a badge. I'll be using that. The thing is, a lot of times the drivers on here are going to be out of date, so earlier I went on ahead and I downloaded all the latest drivers and the latest BIOS from the website, so we'll install that first. And then you got the cable labels there. So let's kind of, you got that. And you have a coupon, I think, for cables. If you want to get a, of course you can probably enter that yourself, and before I can. But anyways, you got a 20% off cables. But I don't know if I'll even need that anyway. And then you got the user guide, so I'll be referring to that or reading through it quite a bit. So we'll go ahead and get that out of the box and get it fitted into the new case. But before we install the new motherboard into the new case, I need to go ahead and get this installed. And this is for, as you know, this is the big tall CPU cooler. We got the instructions here. Hopefully it won't be too bad to do. I heard the reviews on here aren't. Reviews are okay. Yeah, with the directions, and it is compatible with the brand new CPU socket, and it's supposed to have all of the parts in here to make that happen on this new board. So we'll take this all apart and start to see about putting this together on the new motherboard. Alright, so open the box here. We have this cooler. It's got the fan on it. It comes with the clips. Oops, there it's better. You can see it better that way. It comes with the clips on it to hold the fan in, but I'm going to be replacing this fan with an LED fan. This has LEDs with it, as you can see there on that one corner, and that one. It does light up, but it's kind of like a blue LED. It doesn't really quite match the red case. So I'm going to have two red LED fans, which I have here. So we'll be installing those in its place. So we'll be having two of those, one's to push, one's to pull. So we'll work on that. And this is the box we have the hardware in. So you got the little pieces here. Even give you a little thermal paste. You can never have enough of that. So you get the extra little clip there, and as well as the other stuff you need to mount it to the motherboard. So we'll go ahead and I'll start to work on that. Okay, and as you saw, I went on ahead and screwed down the motherboard into the case, and just about ready to go ahead and install the brand spanking new AMD processor. And this is a brand spanking new processor I bought just on the very day it was released, and it's going to be this one. This is the Ryzen 7 2700X 8-core 16-thread processor. It will run at 4.3 gigahertz at a 3.7 gigahertz base, and so I got a couple high-end graphics cards to work with this. So this is brand spanking new. It's just been out on the market for just a good couple of weeks, and I'm pretty sure I'm still probably one of the very first people to install this and use it. But for this motherboard, I got the latest BIOS for it, and but I did not see any information on the latest BIOS information saying that this CPU was going to be compatible with the latest BIOS. So we'll have to see how that will work, how that happens. I'm guessing it will work fine, but if not, if all else, just have to wait for the new BIOS to come out that will support the new CPU. So opening up the box, we have this. Open up here. I don't really need to have this fan, although I'm sure it will probably do the job. I'm sure it will probably do the job okay as it is. So I'm going to set that off to the side there. Like about that, it's got that little sticker badge. So here we go with the Ryzen. Hoping you can see that okay. This must be the first one I've seen that was made in China. All the other ones are made in other countries, so I'm gonna guess this will work fine. So we'll get this installed here. Here's the back side of that CPU. That's a crazy number of pins. Kind of cool, you can scan a little barcode if you wanted to bad enough. So go ahead and we'll get this lined up. It's only going to go in one way, so we'll have to see which way it's going to go. I guess it goes that way. It won't go any other way. I had to I stopped the camera for a while, so I was didn't want to bore you with trying to struggle to put this thing on. I tried to follow the directions, and I was also trying to be delicate not to break anything, but you can't really see it very well, but I guess it's supposed to latch on that little plastic nub on that side, and I was trying to do it that way last, and I was just having a heck of a time trying to get it to work after a while. So finally I just latched it there first, and then I was still having to push it down pretty hard, harder than I would like, I felt comfortable with, and get it to latch down over on this side here. So I did finally, at long last, get it to snap in. So it's on there really tight, and of course I moved around a lot of that thermal paste I put on there earlier. So I'm trusting there's still going to be enough on there to do its job. So at least we finally got that sorted all out. So we'll go ahead and we'll work on the RAM next. As far as the RAM, we're using a total of 32K of RAM, and it's going to be that variety. TridentZ, GSkill, the little GSkill thing on the top lights all up in some color or variety of colors. It's DD4 RAM, and you can see there got two 8 gigabit sticks, a total of 16 gigabits, both together in pairs. And unless I have, yeah, let me see now. Yeah, 16 gigabit, both together. And so we'll mount that little memory slots there. And according to the instruction book here, we're gonna give you the different places you can put it, and so hopefully I can have it so it's not going to be interfering with that fan too much. Here we got RLS2 there, so hopefully it won't be in the way of the fan. Put these in. I should show you that little. I did that just to make sure that memory wasn't going to be interfering with the fan, and like it's spinning, I can't hear anything. So it's I got it latched in as far as it would go. So looks like that will work. And I don't know if this memory or this RAM is going to be compatible with the BIOS, but we'll see. Actually so I should say we got 16 gigabits a pair total, so actually I'm going to have 32 gigabits of RAM, and that's going to be way beyond plenty more than I'll ever need. Wrong way. Alright, so got the RAM installed. Doesn't appear to be affecting anything, which is good because I read about that on some of the reviews, is that these big fans will come in the way of the RAM, and then that won't be much good. So now I need to go ahead and install the new power supply, and so we'll be right back with that. Now, as far as power supply goes, I got this Intermax 1350 watt power supply, and so I figured I need the extra power to run the CPU and graphics and RAM and all of those kinds of good things like that. So I got so I'm sure that the 1300 will cover that. So as get this thing unboxed here, you can see that, and we have the AC power cord, which turns out I already got plenty of extra of those, so it's not like I need another extra one. I can always use the one I have. And this is fully module, and they give you all the instructions to what all plugs into where and what all that you get with the owner's manual. So there, got this. You can see that, too well, but see, it's all there. It's a 80 plus, so it should last me a while to get its all module here. And then you got this fan that I guess it lights up. I guess I'll find out. And normally I like to mount this like with the fan facing up, so it gets plenty of airflow. But then that kind of tends to get into the video cards and other places, and it does have the little vent on the very bottom of the case, and there is some space, not a lot or very much space in the bottom of the case for airflow. So maybe I'll just go ahead and I'll just install it that way with a fan down. So the other thing I got to do is I'll need to go through and plug everything all into the motherboard, and so I don't want to bore you too much with hooking all the cables and stuff into the motherboard. So that kind of goes in just like that, and then I got the included screws. Goes right there on the bottom, and I got it so the fan's facing down. And then on one of these boxes here, they give you all of the connectors. Even give you a little carry-on bag if you want to carry your power supply somewhere. And you got these little ties, and then I'm sure there's also a sticker, Intermax sticker with the screws. So we need those. So I'll get to work with securing in this power supply into the back of the case. I'll get all of the cables all plugged all in, and then I'll be back to show you where I'm at. Okay, we're back, and I had the camera turned off for quite a while. I didn't want to bore you to tears with the whole cable management ordeal, and that can take quite a good long time trying to get that all sorted all out. And so I'll show you all that I've been doing the whole time I had the camera turned off, and how I did the wiring and cables all best I could to try to reduce clutter. So where I left off was I put in the power supply, which I have since now put this whole PC on the desk, and as you can see, it's right up near against my Soviet Olympia reel-to-reel tape deck. So not a whole lot of room there and a whole lot of hangover there. But I figured I'd put it here because this would be the computer I'm using most of all the time for media projects, music remixes, video uploads. This is my media computer, and now being rebuilt. And I have since moved my gaming computer over here, since I really don't use that much at all. and so I had to switch around cables and cords and all of that stuff to move it all over here to switch things around, and not really realizing that I'll be hanging over in the front there, but well, maybe I'll make it work. I can maybe scooch it up just a bit. But anyway, so I installed the power supply, and then I went through the whole thing of went through the little owner's manual, making sure I had the right cables plugged into the right sockets. You got separate sockets for the motherboard, and then all for other peripherals and other things that take power. So like the red ones are for peripherals like the video cards, and the black ones way down the bottom are plugged all in. Those are for hard drives, CD-ROMs, fans if any, or in whichever. And the top red ones you can't really see. That's all for the power supply stuff. So I kind of ran up this really large cable, and I got it plugged into the motherboard, and you can kind of see where I have this kind of plugged into this. And you might wonder what the world that is. Well, that's like a really huge big connector that ties the power off of there that makes this run. And this is the IMON Ultra Bay. I don't use it much, but it does print out any kind of news, weather, all those kinds of things like that, all off the internet. So I use it for that. I bought it for a pretty good price out of Korea, South Korea. So, and then you can see my other front panel media bay, and I got that all connected with the power and data cables all in the back, all around best as I could. I took my time to plug everything in to that's where Windows is at. The solid state drive that's plugged in. This is for audio input for the audio card, and I'll explain the audio problems I ran into. And then I have my really large, that's a 1 terabit. The other ones are 500 and something gigabit hard drives. I'm looking at replacing the 2 bottom ones, maybe with a solid state drive. We'll have to see. Anyway, so I got the video cards installed, and then you can see I got a couple open spaces here on the bottom. Well, what happened was that what I was originally wanting to do was to go ahead, because I did have this. I had this is my big, it has the RCA jacks, it has the headphone jacks, all that stuff, the volume control. I had this in the front panel, a big open hole that is there, and I was really wanting to use this. This really comes in really handy, especially the front RCA ports and headphone jack. And it mounts to this, a little connector there. The problem is that the motherboard is too new to accept that edge connector, so I can't use it. And I don't know where I can find any kind of adapter, if there is such a thing, for this card. But so I'll have to find another audio card. Find another audio card that will work with a motherboard that would fit in one of the slots, and it will hopefully have a front panel similar to this one that I can use. And then also had my wireless internet plugged in, and again, there's nothing on that board. It's too new to accept anything with this, so I'll have to get another one of these that will fit the board sometime later. So the wireless internet and audio cards, this is a separate audio card I was wanting to use for gaming. Hasn't really been used much, and there's nothing on the board that will make it fit or work. So I could probably go without that anyway. I'll have to replace those another time. So that's what held me all up for so long, was trying to get those cards installed. Found out that I couldn't. The connectors are just way too different, and as you can see, there's a little start button light, and that's all lit all up. And I turned on the power supply, as I'm going to show you that I'm going to be upgrading the BIOS, and you kind of sort of make out the lighting. It's hard to see unless you're looking right at it, and then nothing wants to zoom in, obviously. But you can kind of see a little bit of lighting along the edge there, and then that lighting kind of let's see, there we go. You can see all that changing lighting there, and that's all from that. It goes through all the whole rainbow of colors there, and then the lighting kind of continues on up and through there, and then you have that's a power on LED. And the coolest thing is this Crosshair logo. It changes colors. It goes through all the different colors, and if I go into BIOS, I'm sure I can change it or keep it like one set color, like a blue or something like that, or red or whichever. And then so I got so I have most of these. I got the audio connected, if I remember right, and I don't have the USB plugged in anything. There's not enough room for it on the board, but that's connected, and that's connected if I need it. And this is the other half that took a really long time, was to go through and run through all of the cables and run through all the cables. These are some of the power cables for the fan. This is the real big one for the motherboard, and I would take a zip tie and keep it kind of zipped down pretty good. And I ran a lot of the other cables along the back here, trying to keep it all out of the front. And I do have a side panel for it, and I'll put that on later after I know everything's working. So in the meanwhile, we're going to update the BIOS. And let's see now, there's one particular USB port that's got to go in. I think it's this one. It's going to be this one. Yeah, make sure it's going to go the right way. Pressing in the little button. You know, I know you can't see anything. You can see it's updating the BIOS, or at least it's going to. There it is, now it's updating. I have a bunch of other new drivers on that USB drive, so I don't know if it's going to work. I may have to take a separate USB drive and just put the BIOS on that maybe, and I'll have to get another separate computer for that. So while it's at least I hope it's going to be updating, so we'll let that go. I don't want to bore you just waiting for lights to finish. It should be done by now, but I do have the other cables plugged in. You only get one USB 2.0, so I got this hub here for the remaining devices to plug into that one, and then I got the everything else all plugged in, including this power cord. You can see it's got a little clip here they give you with the power supply, and it was supposed to keep that cord plugged in so it don't come out on you. So it's looking like, might be looking like it's going to finish. I think it started to flash a little quicker, so I'll let that finish, and I'll get my camera set up so you can see it power on. So we'll be right back. Okay, it finished updating the BIOS within a few minutes of turning off the camera, so it didn't take very long. So I don't have a video capture right now at the moment, so all there is just the camera pointed at the monitor. It's about the best I can do until I can kind of get things going a little bit better. But let's see if this thing will even boot to BIOS first of all. And I got this, I got my gaming keyboard I don't normally use with this machine, so hopefully it's going to work. And we'll see what happens here. I also need to make sure I got the right video input selected on the monitor too. That might take a little while. So the power's going on the computer. Trying to get it into BIOS, and I'll show you the I'll show you the motherboard here when I can. And that's the first screen that came up on BIOS as I reflashed it. It's telling me to enter a setup to recover a BIOS setting, which I really didn't save anything. I just got into the original menu. But I'm sorry I don't have a screen capture going for this, so this is all I can get. It might be hard to read. At least I hope I can read some of it. So let's see. It says press F1 to run a setup. And you can hear the really high whine of the fan, so that's all in BIOS. And so I'll go ahead and I can go into it and fix it. A bit hard to see, at least I hope you can see some of this okay on your phones or monitors or whichever it is. Let's see. Maybe I can try to zoom up on some of it just a little bit better. So we got the this is the latest BIOS version I flashed onto the board. For whatever reason, it's saying it's this April 19th, 2018, and which is strange because on the website it says May of 2018. So I don't know. As far as I can tell, it's the latest BIOS I can put on it. And anyway, so you got these other versions, LED version, Keybot, which I guess it's like you can set up your keyboard. And my bigger concern, and thankfully got answered, I was concerned about the BIOS and motherboard not recognizing this brand spanking new AMD processor. So the Ryzen 7 2700X, it's an 8-core processor. This can boost up to 4.3 gigahertz. And so I was concerned about about that night kind of showing up, and I'd have to wait for a later BIOS update, but thankfully it's there. It's at the stock speed of 3.7 gigahertz. The total RAM I have is a DDR4, 32 gigabit of RAM. It's going to be way more than plenty I'll ever need to use. Showing me the memory frequency, 2.1 gigahertz. And of course I'm going to go ahead and I can turn that up. It's all in the settings and telling me this is the system date and time. So, and then over here I can maybe zoom up just a bit. This is, you know, you probably can't really see that very good, but just over here on this side of the screen is the same thing. CPU frequency, the temperature, 48 degrees Celsius. Hopefully I can get that to Fahrenheit or whatever. This is some new setting I haven't really read up on. It's a base clock. I guess it's a, I don't know, 100 megahertz, I guess. Then the core voltage ratio, I think at the memory frequency, voltage, 32 gigabit of RAM, and other voltages. So that's pretty much the main screen for this this brand spanking new motherboard. And I got a whole host of settings to go through it, and I just don't have a lot of battery power on this camera to walk through all of it. But good news that it did boot up. I got the latest BIOS on there. I did have the video issues for a little while, just a matter of just resetting it, and I do have the onboard audio, so I have some sounds that get me by until I get another video card. So I'm going to go through all of these different settings. It's going to take me a good long while with the book, and so when I get done with all of it, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what I got. Okay, I got Windows 10 all installed. Turned out I had some kind of an error message, a white little error message before trying to do an update, some kind of compatibility problem. I don't know what that's about, something to do about booting from an installation disk or something or other, and that's not what I was doing. And anyway, so I don't know. So what I ended up having to do was just do a clean, fresh install. So I took my drive C, the solid state drive, to my gaming PC, and I took everything all off of the drive C that I wanted for sure, and a lot of the other stuff like programs that I might be useful, and went on ahead and I formatted drive C. Now I have Windows 10 all installed on here. This is the latest version, I believe, as far as I know. There might be some updates. This is just a little different from what I'm used to on my 2007 Dell laptop. It has Windows 10 on it, so it'll take just a little bit of getting used to. Not exactly a deal breaker, but I've just been so accustomed and liking Windows 7 so much that I don't know, it's I wish I can just go back to Windows 7, but anyway, so all I got to do is just head on in here and install drivers and get all the software, all my other files and pictures all on here from where I saved it to, and get it all, seeing if it's going to run all my other programs. And so, just so you can see just how quickly this thing's going to start, it only just takes maybe a matter of a good few seconds, and I was surprised how quickly this thing will reboot. You know, and that was really quick, within a good several seconds, and it's already logging in. And there we are. So just a good handful or so seconds. So way much faster than Windows 7. So otherwise, I do have some other stuff coming in from Newegg. I need to do some more work on open spaces in the back. I have got a sound card on the way. I have a wireless internet card in case I need it. I'll install that, and then I got one other space. I just put a little vent thing in there. And so I do have a noisy fan. I'm sure you've been hearing that whiny sound the whole entire video. I do have a bad CPU fan, so I went on ahead and ordered another one and get that replaced, so then I'll be running very, very silent. And then I got a couple of LED light strips ordered as well. I can put the LED light strips along, maybe down on that side, and also along the back right through there. So I'll get those all put together when they arrive in the mail. So that's pretty much all for now. This video has been going on for way long enough. I could probably make it into 3 parts, but so anyway, I'll have a lot of editing to do to not make it quite so boring. Okay, well anyway, so go ahead and give me a like if you wish to. Leave any positive comments, hopefully. And stay tuned for the next project I'll be working on soon. You never know. I might maybe be working on getting a Tandy color computer running Windows 10 as well. Never know. That might be another project I'll work on soon. Otherwise, I'll get some music projects working on and some music uploaded. Now that I finally got a machine here, it's going to be handling my music projects and video projects and all those kinds of things. Just a matter of getting all the software and drivers and all that stuff all sorted all out. So that's all for now, and I'll be talking to you later. See you at the next video.